Mindfulness. Have you been hearing that a lot lately? I know I have. It seems to be a pretty big buzzword going around these days, at least in the spaces I inhabit. It's being branded about as the fix-all for everything. Mindfulness this, mindfulness-based that. You know, I'm a mindfulness kind of guy, and I'm sick of it. I'm hearing it everywhere, and it's overcrowded. And that doesn't feel very mindful to me. So, what is mindfulness? Have you ever looked into it? Have you ever heard much about it? Or is it just another sort of phrase going around that you're hearing all the time? If you are new to it, let me give you a brief sort of introduction. The term comes from Buddhism. It's a thing the Buddhists like to play around with. I say play around with, but I think it's a pretty big part of their worldview. And it's got all these deep, interesting, intriguing sort of aspects to it. And that's not very palatable to the Western mind. So in the 1980s-ish, there's an American guy who comes about. His name's Jon Kabat-Zinn. And he's like really into this stuff. But he knows that the Western mind isn't yet ready for something like mindfulness. So he does what we like to do over here and strips everything out of it. No spirituality, no real deeper meaning, no interesting aspects, just completely stripped down and packaged, ready to be consumed by the Western person. He creates what's called mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is like a therapeutic approach to reducing stress, who would have thought? And it sort of catches on, and mindfulness becomes a bit of a thing that people are now talking about. And if you look into that, it's a whole interesting story of its own. If you do, I think you'll find that there's like a Zen Buddhist spy who had the goal of introducing Buddhist ideas to the mainstream audiences of the West. And he was pretty successful at it. It's kind of interesting. A rabbit hole, and maybe a more interesting idea for a different video. All you need to know is there was a guy in the 80s who took this Buddhist concept, brought it to the West, and made it a psychotherapeutic, medicalized sort of thing. That makes sense? Cool. Then we get on to the definition. Now, when I started looking into this, I've been a mindfulness guy for a while. I like mindfulness things. I hang out with mindfulness people. I do mindfulness practices. That's what I'm part of, but I've never really defined it. So when I dug into it, I found out it's a bit more controversial than I would have thought. The Buddhists still seem to debate what it means and the translation of it. I think it comes from the Sanskrit word sati or something like that. Who am I to really talk with authority? Translated to mindfulness, they're still grappling with that. And then you have the psychologists, and dear Lord, are they having a field day trying to define what a simple phrase could, not even a phrase, a word, mindfulness could mean. They break it down into practice, a state of mind, a state of being. Look, if you want to go into that, go into that. So instead of trying to use one of those definitions, let me just wade right in and tell you the definition I'm operating under, because it might help you a bit more. I see mindfulness as the simple practice of paying attention fully. It's pretty simple, right? Just pay a bit of attention. I then focus that sort of more on my experience, the internal thing. So the feelings of my body or the thoughts going through my head, rather than paying attention to how cool that stain on the wall over there looks right now. I'm trying to focus a bit more on something that's happening within me, whether that's up here or down here a bit more. That's the definition I operate under. Now, there's different ways to try and experience this. One of my favorite and go-tos is cheese. I've got this weird habit of every now and then I'll take a bite of cheese and it's cheese. I've just become a person experiencing the taste of a piece of cheese. I don't like expensive cheese. I buy pretty average, like grocery store cheese, cheddar cheese, but something about it. Cut off a bit, take a bite, and just really enjoy the taste the texture, the feeling of that. And it works really well for me to be a bit more mindful. Now that might not work for you. Heaven forbid you might be lactose intolerant. So what could you do to try and experience this? Well, we circle back to something I talked about before, and that's meditation, particularly mindfulness-based meditation. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Just take a minute, take a breath, feel what it's like to take that breath in, sit with it, let it out, and just breathe. Try not to focus on anything else, just the experience of breathing. Sound pretty doable? If you want to get a bit more into it, I talked a bit more about it in the video I did on meditation, who would have thought? And you can learn a bit more there. But for all intents and purposes, just a quick way to try and experience what I'm talking about right now. So what's the point? Why bother? Well, it's not hard to do. It's simple. You don't need these crazy accessories or rituals. You're not lighting incense or setting the vibe. Just taking a breath. Maybe taking a few. Maybe taking some breaths for an extended period of time. It's really easy to overcomplicate things. But this is simple. It really is. The best part of mindfulness is how simple it is. Hopefully, you're always going to have your breath. It's always something you can tap into at its most basic level. Now, you can explore the deeper angles of things, but you don't have to overcomplicate it. Just stick with breath, right? So then why? Why am I harping on about mindfulness? Why am I trying to talk to you about it? Well, it's just one of the best ways to calm down a bit. It really helps just calming down. The world is crazy, it's hectic at times, there's always so much going on, but if you can just focus on your breath for a little bit, or eat a piece of cheese like I did, there's so many different ways to focus, to bring that attention in, that it's mighty helpful. In a world full of chaos, being able to calm down is a superpower, and mindfulness is a great way to get there. Now, you can, again, overcomplicate it. There's such deep lore around this mindfulness stuff. The science and the benefits from the research, or go into the Buddhist stuff and get into the spirituality of it all. You can do that. It's cool. It's cool. And if that's your bag, go for it. But at the end of the day, it's just a really effective way to calm down a bit. And that's all I'm trying to preach to here, right? Just calm down a little. Take a breath. Now, again, mindfulness is all out there. It's everywhere. Mindfulness this, mindfulness that, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's got something. There's so much noise around it. But I'm here to tell you, you don't need a product or an app or some other wellness guy, dude, telling you to do this or that and make it harder than it is. It's genuinely as simple as taking that breath, taking a bite of a piece of food, mindful eating, mindful walking, or just breathing. Just take a breath, right? Have a breathe and focus on that. Tune it all out, focus on the breath and calm down. You don't need an app for that. They can help. If you want one, look them up. I don't know any, sorry. If you want a product, I'm sure they're out there. And if you want to listen to other dudes like me talk about this, you'll find infinite amounts out there. But at the end of the day, you've just got to breathe a little more, right? And what's the point? What's the benefit? I've talked a bit. Here's a story. Now, I think it's a beautiful story that I think about all the time. The guy that told it might not be as beautiful, but, that's whatever. I heard it on a podcast all these years ago from Sam Harris, of all people, right? He was talking about the busy morning he'd been having. Him and his wife were rushing around the house, doing this, that, and everything. The tensions were high. They were running late or something. And Sam Harris is about to run out the door. And he stops. And he turns back to his wife and gives her a hug and gives her a kiss and appreciates what he has there. Look, whatever's happening with Sam Harris these days, I don't know. And I don't really care. It's not my business. I'm not that involved. But that story really sticks with me as what the point is. Another one is, I moved house recently, upgraded background, right? How cool. But one of the best things was in the last place we were at, the taps didn't really work. They were pretty crap. And in the new place, I have taps that work, which is awesome. And every now and then I turn the tap on, and for a brief moment, I'm like, damn, how cool is it to have a working tap? And I think that's one of the core benefits of doing something like mindfulness, of calming down a bit more. We're broaching into sort of that gratitude space, which of course I'm going to do something on at some point because that's such a great concept in of itself. But for now, think of mindfulness as, and that calmness that comes with it, the important part, is something that allows you to have that space to appreciate the good things that's happening, to give your wife a kiss, to enjoy a piece of cheese, as I seem want to do, or just appreciate that my taps work. There's something really powerful about that, and that's what I'm trying to sell you on. So, look, I know I said that the word is used all the time, it's banded around, and there's too much noise, and it's oversaturated, and I've totally just gone and made another video talking about it, which, look, I'm sorry for, but I'm just trying to cut back on the hype a little. Mindfulness-based this and that, you don't need to worry about it. Just breathe. Just eat a piece of cheese. Just take a minute. Now, if you've got this far and you've listened to this strange rambling about mindfulness, thank you. Appreciate your time. I hope you've walked away with a slight understanding of mindfulness. Maybe not. Who knows? Sorry if I've just wasted your time. But at the end of the day, I can't force you to engage with any of the ideas I've brought up here. I can't make you practice mindfulness. I can't make you look into it, into the science or the spirituality or anything. I've just shared my own take, a bit of my own experience, and I hope that can make it a bit more real to your life. Now, again, I can't force you to do it. It's always up to you and what you want to do. So, what are you going to do?